let me say it's a blessing to be here tonight. It's good to see each one of you in the house of the Lord. And God's been good to us to let us come back to His house again and worship Him. I talked to Mike this evening, and he said they had a good service today. He said the one-man quartet came by. They was headed to Rainsville for tonight, and they wanted somewhere to stop off this morning. So they called Mike, and he told them to come by. And I don't know where you've ever heard the one-man quartet. He used to sing with the Inspirations. And he said, old Martin Cook, tape, and he said, if he said it himself, said he'd never play it. He said, I put the tape recorder and all in there. And said he played it, and he got to sing with the Inspiration. He's a one-man quartet. But his son's singing with him now. They sang during the choir. Their choir just let that one-man quartet sing the choir time. And Mike said, I started letting them to sing my time. And he told that when he got up and preached, but that man got up and told him, he said, that message was for me and my son, if it wasn't for nobody else here. He kind of gave Mike a rose and a crown on his head when he got up there with the invitation. And so he had a good time. So anyhow, you pray tonight. I'll preach on Joseph's life. I have used Joseph much of times, but I want to use a little bit different tonight. I want to use tonight when God is silent. Now, God is known in the Bible. Anybody that knows anything about the Old Testament and the New Testament, God was silent for 400 years. From the Old Testament to the New Testament. They didn't hear from heaven. And but I want to preach about Joseph in Genesis chapter number 37. And for a little while. And our text will be in 37th chapter of the book of Genesis, and verse number 3 and 4. And said, now Israel loved Joseph more than all of his children, because he was the son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And the Bible said, and when his brothers saw that their father loved him more than all of his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceable unto him. Now, I want you to think about it for a little while. Being in trouble, and it not be your fault. I don't know whether you've ever had any experiences like that, but that was Joseph's problem. He had trouble, and it started at a young age. At 17 years old, Joseph's trouble started, and it wasn't his fault. As I said there, when it comes, and a lot of people, when they have trouble come in their life, they get mad at God. But Joseph didn't do that. The Bible said that Joseph, he obeyed his father. He was an obedient child. That's the reason Jacob liked him, because he was the son of his old age. And his mother was the woman that Jacob really loved the first time. He thought he was going to get her the first time, then his father-in-law or his uncle tricked him and gave him the older girl, and that's why he wound up with two of the sisters. It's because of their dad. But he loved Rachel, and the Bible said Joseph was the son of Rachel. And he loved him because he was the son of his old age. He was an old man when Joseph was born. In fact, best I could study, he was probably 90 years old when Joseph was born. He getting up in age. And the Bible said Abraham, though, of course, was before Isaac was born, Abraham was close to 100 years old. But the Bible said here that Joseph, my friend, he obeyed his father, and his father told him, said, your brothers is out yonder with the flock, and Shechem, and said, I want you to go and check on them and the flock, and see how they do, and bring me word again. And both they'd already didn't like him. And all he was doing is what God wanted him to do. And you get in trouble today doing what God wants you to do. Joseph got in trouble doing what God wanted him to do and what Daddy wanted him to do, and his brothers hated him. They was his half brothers, but they were still his brothers. They had the same father but different mothers. And so the Bible tells us the older boys, 10 of them, hated him, envied him, and it come to the point they wanted to kill him. I mean, envy it turned into hatred tonight, and then it'll cause people to want to commit murder. And the Bible tells that some people can murder you without a gun, without a knife, without any kind of weapon. They can murder you with their mouth. And a lot of people have been killed. Their influence have been killed. I saw somebody with an old long tongue. From that got loose on both ends at the same time. From that. But the Bible said they saw Joseph coming. He went up to Shechem, and the Bible said he's wandering around out there in the field looking. They're supposed to have been there, but they wasn't there. And the Bible said that some man saw him, some stranger saw him, and knew he was looking for something, and asked him that. He said, I'm looking for my brothers. And he said, well, I heard them say they're going to Dothan. From that place about 25 miles away from there. And Joseph started toward Dothan, 25 miles further trip. And when he got inside, they saw him coming, and they said, we'll just slay that dreamer and see what happens to his dream. They better be glad, my friend, that they didn't carry out what their faults was. And to start with, because they would have lived as long if they had got rid of Joseph. Joseph would have been down there to save no food for them. And they would have died, my friend, not have survived. You look how close it was. They were just in a few moments of slaying, my friend Joseph, the man that told them what was going to happen before it ever happened. He didn't know what it was all about then. But the Bible said that one of them spoke up and said, let's don't kill him now. Let's just put him in the pit over there. There's no water in this pit out in the wilderness, and we'll just put him in the pit. And he was hoping to deliver him out of their hands, I believe it was Reuben was, and get him back to his father. But some reason or other he was missing, and they sold Joseph. But I want you to get when God is silent, when Joseph was put down there in that old pit out there in the wilderness, he probably thought, I'll never get out of here alive. And God was silent. He probably went over his life and wondered what he deserved to this, and to come to this, my friend. And the Bible said he was there and God was silent. You'd think maybe somebody like Joseph, God would deliver him, and some kind of a miracle took place, but God just stayed silent. Have you ever been to a place in your Christian life when it felt like you couldn't hear from heaven and God was silent? Amen. I've been there. I've been down that road before. It's a miserable place. I imagine it was miserable for Joseph to be in that pit, unloved and unwanted, away from home. Dad down there, he don't know what's happened to me. He don't know they stripped my coat off of me. He don't know what they intend to do to me. And it was all alone, but God was silent. Yes. And the Bible said, my friend, his brothers got together, about 9 of them out there did, and they said, I guess Benjamin is probably still at home with Daddy, the younger boy, and he probably old enough to go out on driving the sheep around. My friend, but the Bible said, they said, we see these Ishmaelites, I believe it was, and they was coming and they was headed for Egypt. You remember the Bible said Abraham had a son named Ishmael. That's where they got their names from. And they seen them coming, a caravan of them, and they was coming headed to Egypt. They said, let's just sell him. They sold him out there in the wilderness, and God still stayed silent. And they traveled how many days it took them to get to Egypt, I don't know. But when they got down there, they sold him the second time. And God still stayed silent. Friend, listen, I'm going to tell you, God still knows what's going on, though he's silent tonight. God knew what was going on in my life when he was silent with me. Oh, tonight, listen, sometimes it hurts to be when you don't hear from heaven. And you hadn't done anything to cause God to be silent on you. But sometimes God just tests us a little bit. Amen. And when we come out of the fire, we're better off. I mean, the more times you put gold in the fire, the purer it gets. Get rid of the stuff in order not to be there. And God sometimes tries us like gold in the fire. My friend, but Joseph was sold. Now somebody thinks that Joseph might have got to be the head overseer of, he was sold down there. Let me just get it. He was sold to one of the captain of old Pharaoh's bodyguard. If you want to get right down to the brass tacks of it. He bought him for a helper. There was a young, stout-looking Hebrew, a teenager, and boy, he'd be good to help around the house. Now, we don't know how many stables he cleaned out before he ever got to be overseer. We don't know how many pigs that he slopped. You know, for the Jews to work with pigs, it was bad. They just didn't want to be around them hogs. And they wouldn't eat. And the real Jew today, they won't eat a bacon and lettuce sandwich today, but I'll eat one. I'd be glad to have one at our church tonight. But you think about it, a real Jew that believes their Jewish religion, they won't eat pork. In the Bible, God told them not to eat it. They can't have catfish. The Israelites couldn't have catfish. We love catfish. I know 2 people in the other night. They ate 2 platters full, all but 1 piece. If you don't believe that, I'm holding up my hand as Wendy Bagwell said. That's the truth. There was 2 platters of fish, catfish on the table, and 2 people eat all but 1 piece. I saw it take place. I was one of them people, the reason I saw it. But they wasn't allowed to eat anything that didn't have scales on it. If you know anything about the old Bible, the Israelites, God laid down, He laid down a lot of things to them. They weren't allowed to do anything on the Sabbath day. I mean, listen, one man got out there and he gathered up some sticks on the Sabbath day, and before they ever made the law, I'll get back to the message in a minute, but before they ever made the law, they caught him gathering sticks on the Sabbath day. Before they ever made any rules what to do to somebody that breaks the Sabbath day, they had to put him in a hole and find out. Moses had to find out from God what to do with him. You know what God said? He said, kill him. Boy, it was serious breaking the Sabbath day. I mentioned several years ago, it's been about 44. Now, in the fall of the year, I moved out there in 71, and we weren't used to people working. I was in the mountain. And when people even got in the mud and they got in the grass and all that, they didn't work on Sunday. But I hear the machinery running one Sunday evening at my house. And I looked out my back door and they was gathering beans over there in the field on Sunday, on the Lord's Day. And then it went on and the workers and the mills got to working on the Lord's Day. And if you worked there, you had to work if they wanted to. You think about it. One fellow refused to work down here at one of the mills, and he said, I may have to dig ditches tomorrow, but I'm not working on Sunday. And of course, they made it harder on him. They can't fire you for not working on a Sunday, but they get another reason against you. You think about it tonight. You know what, but that's God, when God is silent tonight. Every one of us probably has had experience if we were on God for a very long time. We've had an experience that when God was silent, it seemed like God was miles and miles away from us. And we couldn't touch Him. We couldn't reach Him. We couldn't get an answer from Him. These Jewish people went through 400 years of it between the Old Testament and the New one. And the Bible said when Jesus came, or before Jesus got here, Zacharias and Elizabeth, they were still righteous before God and full of the Holy Ghost of God. I'm telling you, and they didn't hear from heaven in 400 years, but they're still living for God. You think about it. Oh, today, but God, when God is silent, He sold him. No, listen, now Joseph couldn't help it because his daddy loved him, favored him above the others. That was his daddy's fault. It wasn't his. He couldn't help that, but he got him in trouble. He couldn't help it because he was a handsome. I may say, now, preacher, you can't prove that Bible. Yes, I can. I just read it. I just flipped over there to the 39th chapter and read. And, of course, it tells a little bit different words. It tells in the 39th chapter that Joseph was a handsome man, a goodly person, and well-favored. The old Pharaoh, the bodyguard, the captain of the bodyguard, that was more than his wife could take. When Joseph was so handsome and beautiful, good to look at, and then he was the overseer of the house. Them two together, she just couldn't stand that. And the Bible said she cast her eye. I'm preaching about God when God is silent. She cast her eyes upon Joseph and said, Joseph, I want you to be my boyfriend. And Joseph, of course, the Bible said he refused. Just do it right. Got him in trouble again. It got him thrown into prison because she got mad at him, and when her husband got home, she said that old Hebrew slave come in here, said he done wrong, and everything. She told him. I'm not going to go ahead and tell what one of the fellows said in the book about it, but you think about it tonight. She accused him of making a pass at her, and she was making a pass at him. It was horrible. She turned it around, reversed it on Joseph. And that wasn't Joseph's fault. He couldn't help it because he had a nice, handsome-looking body. He couldn't help that. He couldn't help it because God had blessed him to be nice, a handsome fella, and well-built and all that. He couldn't help that. But he was in prison, and God was still silent. I don't know how long he stayed in prison. Now, the Bible said he was 17 years old. He was 30 years old before he stood before Pharaoh. And there's 13 years in there. I doubt where he stayed in prison that long. But what I'm saying tonight, we don't know how long he's considered a slave. And Joseph was put in prison with no chance of getting out. He was there to die. You studied it. And a slave being put in prison like that. You know, if it's just one of the people in the community there and everything, they had a chance of getting out or peeling it and getting out of the prison. But Joseph was there to stay. And he still loved God. God was still silent. And all that happened to Joseph. And the Bible said one day that Joseph had been a prisoner and probably been mistreated a lot of times in there. But one day God worked a favor. He worked a favor with the man that's in charge. And he put Joseph in charge of the prisoners. And God stayed silent all them years. I don't know how long he was in the guard's house, being the overseer. I don't know how long he stayed in prison before. He stayed in there 2 years after that the butler and the cupbearer got out. He stayed 2 more years in there after that. I know it was 2 years. He forgot about it. And God just stayed silent. But one day God broke the silence. You think about it. One day, for some reason or another, God let these people, one of them was the baker, the other was the cupbearer, they got on, their boss got unhappy with them. Pharaoh got angry with them. And he threw them in their prison. Probably the guy that Joseph was working for put him in there. Put him in the prison where Joseph was at. God began to break his silence. You see what I'm talking about tonight? He began to move. He moved through Pharaoh and them 2 men. They was begin to move. And that would have brought it about. The Bible said that they were there. How long they was there, I don't know. Don't know how long they was there. But the Bible said they dreamt a dream. Just think about it. They was in there where a man knew what them dreams was. He knew where they come from. They come from God. And they dreamt a dream, and one of them dreamt a dream. They was all sad face, and Joseph come in and said, "Why are y'all so sad today?" They said, "We dreamt a dream and we don't know what it is." He said, "Well, God knows it. God knows all about them dreams." And they told him the dream, and he told the old baker, he said, they're going to hang you. And the cupbearer, he said, you're going to be restored to serve the king. Boy, you know what a cupbearer is? He has to taste of all the food, all the liquid that man drinks to see if it's poison or not. Somebody might try to poison the king. And he was supposed to sup a little bit of it, see if it was safe for the man to drink. He's supposed to eat a little of the food before they serve it to Pharaoh the king. And that was his job. He had an important job. Nehemiah had a job like that. He was a cupbearer over there to another king in another place. If you think about that, God began to move. And he told him God's going to restore you in so long a time. And he said, when you do, said, I want you to remember me. He said, mention me to Pharaoh. Well, he forgot about him. Ain't that just like a friend? You do somebody a favor, and boy, they'll forget about you like a hot potato. I've had it happen to me. I'm not telling you all together this. I'm telling you some of the experience I've had. Some of the best friends that I thought I had was my worst enemies. When it come down to the favor part. You think about it. And that's still going on today. Stuff like that still happens today. But the Bible said that one day old Pharaoh, he dreamt. God had broke his silence. And Pharaoh had dreamt, and he dreamt there's going to be 7 good years and 7 bad. But he didn't know what it was. God let him have a 2-fold dream. But he didn't know the dream. He forgot the dream. He forgot the interpretation. He got of it, and he didn't know what to interpret it. But Joseph, the old cupbearer, said, "King, I remember down when you was angry at me. You had me down there in prison." Said there's a fellow down there told me I was going to get restored. And boy, I mean, they sat down there. God had broke his silence, and they sat down there at my friends in the prison and said, "I want you to shave old Joseph, change his clothes, and send him to see Pharaoh." God had broke his silence. He'd been silent all them years. As far as we know, 13 years went by that God was silent in Joseph's life. But now God began to move. Just in time, he knew right where Joseph was at. He had him in the right place at the right time. And he got out and he shaved and changed clothes and went up there to see Pharaoh. And he told old Pharaoh, he told him the interpretation of that dream. And Pharaoh said, can we find a man any greater than this? And you know what happened? They made him the vice president of Egypt. He got to ride on Air Force 2. You know, we have Air Force 1, Air Force 2, but he got to ride in that day. It would have been like Air Force 2. And it would have been like the vice president. He was the next man down from Pharaoh. In fact, if it is, Pharaoh just about turned everything over to Joseph. God had broke his silence. And Joseph had went from the prison to being the second man in command. I mean, you talk about getting a position and God promoting somebody. And it pays to live right. I mean, if you live right, I mean, something good is going to happen somewhere out there in the future in your life. I mean, it happened here, but it happened when this life goes. And boy, I'm telling you, they're singing this evening, and they're singing a beautiful song about our loved ones done going on. And I told Mama, I said, we're closer to it than we've ever been. We're closer home tonight than we was the day we believed. Amen. I mean, we're on that journey. And one of the writers said, I believe it was David, said, I go the way of all the earth. And we're on that road tonight. If the rapture doesn't take place, we're on the road to the cemetery tonight. It's going to have to be our time. When the Lord gets ready. Like the Chuck Wagon Gang used to sing that old song, when the Lord gets ready, you got to move. When the Lord gets ready for you, you've got to go. There ain't nothing you can do about it. All the doctors and all the nurses and everything couldn't keep you here when it come time for God to call you away. You got to go. All the medicine in the world, they claim people's living longer today because we've got all this up to date on the medicine and stuff. I'm not going to argue with them on that. They may be right and they may not be. But I'm telling you here tonight, friend, listen, God broke his silence and he put Joseph up there in command. Can you see that little old Hebrew boy that was out there in that pit and God was quiet? He didn't say nothing. He didn't try to get him out there till they come along and sold him. They pulled him up and sold him down there to the bodyguard, the captain of the bodyguard of Pharaoh, and he worked there for him. I don't know what all he done. He might have took care of the animals. Some of them he didn't want to be around probably because he's a Jew. And I don't know how many times he slopped the pigs and how many times he cleaned out the stables and all that kind of stuff. But finally he got to be an overseer there, and God was blessing him all the time. God was silent. But boy, he really, when he began to break the silence and move, look how he promoted Joseph. I'm saying tonight it pays to live for God. Live for the Lord. Joseph would have been a good model for our teenagers today. He was a 17-year-old boy. Life was ahead of him. And if he had made the move according to man's way of looking at it, he'd had it made in man's eyes. But he'd lost out with God. It pays to say with God. It may look like that you're on the point, just like Abraham was up there on the hills and no grass a growing. Lot lifted up his eyes and looked down towards Sodom and Gomorrah, and there was plenty of water and plenty of grass for the stock. And Lot said, Uncle Abraham, I'm going that way. Abraham said, I'll go the other way then. But you know the difference was, Abraham had God on his side. When you got the Lord on your side tonight, that's what pays tonight. When God was silent, then God began to break his silence then. All this happened is no fault to Joseph. None of this should ever happen to Joseph. But it did. But he didn't get ill at God. He just kept on living for the Lord. Down there cleaning out them stables, slopping them old swines down there, and whatever his job was before he got to be overseer of the house. And then after he got put in prison, before he became the overseer in prison, he just kept living for God. And you know them ungodly people, them Jewish people didn't know nothing about the God of heaven. They had idol gods. They didn't know the true God of heaven. But they seen that the Lord was with Joseph. Even though God was silent, God wasn't moving. They could still see God was with him. Think about it. They could just see there was something different. Pharaoh's captain of the guards that bought him from them Ishmaelites, he seen there was something special about Joseph. You ever see somebody their life just stood out? It just seemed like it, and they didn't even have to pump it, make it. Somebody said, boy, we got to let our light shine. The Bible said to let it shine. Now, men might see your good works and glorify the Father. He didn't say to make it shine. He said, let it shine. We don't have to put on a foxfire show and try to make people think that we got more of God than what we got. All we got to do is just let what we have work tonight. We let it work in us tonight. Wouldn't it be wonderful? Wouldn't it be wonderful if people, everybody that claimed to be a Christian, would obey God tonight? Just say, Lord, not my will, but your will be done, as Jesus said before he went to Calvary. He said, Lord, he prayed to not go to Calvary. He didn't want to die. The human part about him didn't want to die. But after he prayed and prayed and prayed, he come back and said, Lord, not my will, but thy will be done. He was ready to go. He told the disciples, just sleep on, boys. Said, it's all right now. You don't have to watch. It's already settled. The plan's already in motion. You can just said, I know you're tired and you're wore out and you're tired and sleepy. You just sleep on. Take your rest. Oh, tonight, listen, folks. When God is silent, ain't you glad? I imagine Joseph. Somebody walked up to him and said, what do you think about God now, Joseph? Since he began to move and break the silence. I imagine Joseph, big old smile went all the way across. He looked like an Egypt. They thought he was Egyptian. He was dressed like Egyptian. He was giving orders to the Egypt people and all the fact of it is all the world. He had control of the food of the world then. Joseph had it all in his hands. And if anybody come to Pharaoh and want anything, he said, check with Joseph. He's got the key to the storehouse. And you know, Joseph, in a way, is a type of Christ. And you know, Christ has got the key to the storehouses of heaven tonight. Ain't it wonderful? Thank God to be saved tonight. Well, I'm not going to preach in depth because we're not many here tonight. But listen, folks, God is good tonight. And he's a wonderful God tonight. And the greatest friend that I ever met, his name is Jesus. Boy, he'll love you when nobody else loves you. He'll stick closer to you than a brother. And a brother, they say that a real brother will shed their blood for another brother, that blood brother. And Jesus done that for me and you. He shed his blood at Calvary.